The morning she tore my father's no trespassing sign off the cedar post, something inside me snapped like dry fence wire. It wasn't just a sign. Dad carved the letters himself with an old chisel the year I came home from the Marines. He said a man ought to mark his lines not to keep good folks out, but to remind the world who's responsible for what's inside. I stood on the porch with coffee steaming in the cold, the sun just cracking over the hayfield, and watched her white crossover creep up my private farm road against low as a tick. Bold as Sunday while, a pair of little dogs yapped in the back like they owned the place. This wasn't the first. The time HOA Karen, real name, Charlene Pembroke, had come nosing around. She moved into the developer's country style subdivision that sprouted like mushrooms across the creek 3 summers ago. And from the minute her manicure dried, she decided our gravel lane would make a perfect shortcut. Her HOA pals started using it too: joggers, golf carts, teenagers on e-bikes, because somebody told somebody that once upon a time, previous owner let folks pass through to reach the riverbank. A courtesy, not a deeded right. Courtesy died when Dad did. I'd posted the road with clear metal signs, put up a pipe gate. We left enough space for the tractor and the feed truck, and I gave Sheriff Morales a code for emergencies. But warnings mean little to people who don't hear no, if I called out. Karen would smile through her windshield, like I'd mistook her for a stranger, wave that HOA newsletter, and motor on dust, kissing the mailbox where Dad's flag still hangs on Memorial Day. 2 weeks ago, I found my gate chain cut and the post leaned at an angle like someone had backed into it. My wife, June, who doesn't say much unless it matters, set down her mixing spoon and said, "Put in the spikes, Miles." I'd been holding off. The one-way strips were legal inside my fence line, posted, visible, and angled so delivery folks could exit without shredding their tires. The sheriff had approved the plan and told me to use bright yellow paint, but I hoped to avoid it because mercy is a habit in small towns. June's eyes told me mercy had been mistaken for neglect. So I installed the strips in plain sight, bolted to railroad ties, reflective tape shining like cat eyes. I planted a new sign: private farm road access by permission only, do not enter. Then I phoned the subdivision property manager, explained the setup, and emailed photos with the date and time. He sent back a polite line about communicating to residents. I printed that email and stuck it to the fridge with a magnet shaped like a rooster. The next morning was a Saturday. The sky smelled like rain and cut hay. I heard tires on gravel. The fine crunch Dad said was the sound of accountability. And I stepped out onto the porch just as a white crossover rolled past the mailbox. Karen again, sunglasses, big sun hat, phone up like she was live streaming. I lifted my hand and pointed at the new sign. She rolled down the window 2 inches, just enough to let condescension through. "This is a common access," she sang like a kindergarten teacher. "Our plat shows a right-of-way." "No, ma'am," I said. "Your plat is across the creek. This road is mine." She laughed, revved the engine, and drifted forward. Then stopped me. She found the spikes around the curve. Anyone would. They gleamed bright as a school bus. The big red warning sign screamed, "Stop! Tire damage. No entry." She slowed, looked at me in the mirror. Then, as sure as sunup, she rolled forward. The first pop was a gunshot in the hush. The second pop was louder. Air hissed out and rippled across the ditch grass. She jumped out, hands flying, dogs barking, fury painted across her face the color of fresh lipstick. "You vandal. You sabotaged a public right-of-way." I kept my voice even because my father's ghost listens for temper. "You were warned. You're trespassing. I'd like you to leave. I'm calling the sheriff," she said, stabbing at her phone. "And my lawyer. You'll pay for this." I nodded toward my game camera mounted on the oak. "Good. They'll want to see the footage." Sheriff Morales arrived 10 minutes later, lights off. Dust swirling behind his Tahoe. He knows me and June from church suppers and field fires. He also knows Karen from the stack of parking complaints she files. Whenever a fishing truck idles near the subdivision sign, he listened to us both, patient as always. Walked the posts. Photographed the warnings. Shook the spike strip with his boot. Then he asked Karen for her license and insurance. She refused, said she was the victim of a booby trap. The sheriff quoted the statute about private property and posted obstacles. He pointed to the county map on his dash screen. No recorded easement, no public right-of-way. When he finally offered to call a tow, she snatched her purse like the road itself had insulted her mother. "This isn't over," she said, leaning close enough that I smelled perfume and anger. "You don't understand who you're dealing with." She left with the tow truck. The dogs kept barking until the wind pushed their sound down into the creek bottom. June brought me a fresh cup of coffee. "You stayed calm," she said. "I'm tired of being calm," I said, and I meant it in my bones. Calmness had bought us years of encroachment. Today, I felt something new as settled. Righteous weight. Like finally standing where you were supposed to stand all along. That afternoon, I patched fence. The sky let loose a soft rain that made the dust sing. I thought that would be the end of it. Spikes did their job. It's a lesson learned, road respected. But tyranny rarely stops at the first boundary you set. It knocks on the next one. 2 days later, a man in a pale suit delivered an envelope big as a church program. Inside was a lawsuit with my name on it. I've been sued once before, back when the feed store delivered the wrong mineral, and a neighbor's calves came down sick. We worked it out at a picnic table with a jug of sweet tea and the vet's bill. This time was different. Karen's complaint was 16 pages of indignation dressed up like truth. Negligence, reckless endangerment, malicious installation of hazardous device. She'd stapled glossy photos of her tires flayed like ripe pears in a selfie with the caption, "Victim of rural vigilante." June read it twice and set it down as if it might stain the table. "This is a performance," she said. "But performances sway people who don't know us." She was right. In her affidavit, Karen claimed our road had been commonly and openly used for decades, that community members relied on it to access neighborhood amenities, and that a historic right-of-way existed by prescription, which is lawyer talk for you, didn't stop us soon enough. So now we own a slice. She didn't just want me to pay for tires. She wanted the court to declare my road a public access, tear out the gate, and enjoin me from interference. Felt like a thief suing the lock. I called the best lawyer in 3 counties for property lines and ugly fights, a Bagdale Abbott, who wears her hair in a tight twist and carries a tape measure. Abby sat at our kitchen table, skimmed the complaint, and lifted an eyebrow. "She's throwing spaghetti at the wall," she said. "But spaghetti sometimes looks like a tapestry to folks who haven't eaten lunch." Abby made a list. 1, record the old survey Dad kept in the gun safe. 2, pull the county's plat history. 3, gather affidavits from old-timers who remember the road long before the subdivision. 4, print the emails to the HOA manager. 5, download all your game cam footage and upload it to a thumb drive. 6, replace the cut chain with a proper steel gate and keyed lock visible, lawful, substantial. While Abby worked the law, I worked the land. I set the new gate in fresh concrete and hung a cattle bell from the crossbar like Dad did. Reminder to stop and breathe before you roll into someone else's life. I repainted the signs. I posted a laminated letter by the mailbox. Private farm road. Deliveries by permission. All others turn around. Then I walk the creek. Remembering summers when Mom smelled like ivory soap and peaches, and Dad smoked a pipe and told me that land remembers who cares for it. A week later, the subdivision Facebook group lit up. A cousin sent screenshots. Karen had posted a photo of my gate with a caption, "Hostile neighbor endangers families." The comments split along a line you could see from space. Some folks echoed her, outraged about blocked access to nature. Others, including old Mr. Whitlow who taught me shop class, wrote, "That's Miles's road. Always has been." One woman said she walked it every morning and never saw a spike strip. That's because she read signs and stayed on the public shoulder. Then came the letter slid under our door, no stamp, no return address. "Remove your traps," it read. "Accidents happen." That night, someone unscrewed a post cap and tossed it into the ditch. June picked it up and brushed off the dirt like it was a child's scraped knee. "Fear makes people foolish," she said. "But foolish can turn mean." 2 Saturdays after the tire incident, I heard engines idling at the end of the lane. Not one. Several voices floated across the alfalfa. We have every right. Call the news. Don't touch the gate. I walked down slow, my hands open, my heart thudding a steady drum. 4 SUVs sat in a line, hazard lights blinking like Christmas. Karen stood at the front in tennis whites, a clipboard in hand, with 3 HOA board members fanned behind her like backup singers. We're doing a community walk, she announced, as if I had been waiting for a parade. We're documenting historic use. On my property? I asked. On the common access, she corrected. We've notified the county. I glanced past her and saw a county Prius parked on the shoulder. Out stepped Rick Barnett, a surveyor I've known since high school. He held his tablet like a Bible and looked at me with that dare not say face government folks wear when trouble is inevitable. Morning, Miles, he said. Got a call to take a look? Morning, Rick, I said. Come look. We walked the line together, me, Rick. 2 deputies, Sheriff Morales dispatched because he's wise. And Karen with her clipboard fluttering like a restless bird. I laid out the fence line, the old oak stump Dad kept as a marker, the angle of the creek's bend. Rick measured and nodded. He pulled old plats from his tablet, maps I'd seen in Dad's safe. He traced the stamped line with his finger and said, Finally, the road lies entirely within the Weber parcel. No recorded easement. Karen laughed like he'd told a joke poorly. But everyone uses it, Rick shrugged. I can't measure everyone. I can measure this. He tapped the corner pin. That should have ended the field trip, but bullying wears stubborn clothes. Karen ordered her board to proceed for documentation. I stood in front of the gate. The deputies stood with me, not aggressive, just present. Palms resting on the belts that hold 100 different ways to de-escalate. Ma'am, one deputy said, if you cross this gate after being told not to, that's trespassing. You can't trespass on public access, she shot back. Courthouse is open Monday, he said, kindness wrapped around steel. Today this is a gate on private property. She stood there, jaw tight, weighing the cameras and the moment. 2 of her board members shifted, eyes on their shoes. One muttered, Let's go, Char. She turned, scribbled something dramatic on her clipboard, and huffed to her SUV. The paper war marched on. Karen amended her complaint to add retaliation. Filed our answer with enough exhibits to wallpaper a gymnasium. Abby requested sanctions for frivolous claims. The judge hold Duffy fair and meticulous set a hearing for an injunction. If Karen won, I'd have to swing the gate wide until trial. If we won, the gate would stand, and perhaps the fever would break. The night before the hearing, June ironed my best shirt and placed Dad's pocket knife in my palm the way she used to pass a lunchbox. You won't need it, she said, but carry your people with you. I slept in fits, the house ticking and cooling around me. Somewhere in the dark, coyotes yipped and the creek whispered against the stones. I thought about how a road is more than gravel, it's a memory laid end to end. I thought about every early morning I'd hauled hay down that lane. Every evening I'd walked it with June and listened to crickets. I thought about boundary lines and neighbor lines, and how often one is mistaken for the other. Just before dawn, a truck eased up to the gate and stopped. Headlights clicked off. I stepped onto the porch, heart tight. The door opened. Sheriff Morales. He held up a paper cup and a greasy bag. Sausage biscuits, he said. For court, you think we'll need reinforcements? I asked. He smiled. Truth doesn't always win the first round, but it doesn't lose to drama forever. Courtrooms are bad places for pride and good places for paper. Judge Duffy's courtroom smells like old books and lemon cleaner. The bench is worn smooth where a generation of elbows rested. Karen sat at the plaintiff's table in a navy suit with shoulder pads sharp enough to cut cheese. Her lawyer a downtown type with perfect hair-stacked exhibits like he was building a tower to heaven. Abby and I sat opposite with manila folders and a calm you can only rent by the hour. The hearing was about an injunction. Should the court force me to open the gate pending trial? Karen's lawyer went first. He painted me as a rural extremist, denying safe passage to families and seniors. He showed photos of children by a creek someone else's kids. Not my Nan implied I'd trapped nature itself behind steel. He called the spike strip a trap and acted shocked that tires pop when you drive over clearly marked spikes. Abby stood. She doesn't raise her voice. She sharpens it. She started with the deed, the survey pins, the county plats documents older than the subdivision's welcome sign. She showed the email to the HOA manager, the photos of posted signs, the sheriff's incident report. Then she played the game cam footage. Karen's car, the warnings, the slow roll forward, the deliberate challenge in the eyes reflected by the rearview mirror. She let silence sit for a breath after the second pop. Like a bell tolling. "Your Honor," she said, "this is not about a shortcut. It is about a person who believes rules are for other people and consequences are for the poor. Mr. Weber is not cruel. He is careful. He asked, he posted, he notified. He secured his private road. The law protects that." Karen's lawyer tried the historic use angle. Abby called Rick, the county surveyor, who testified that no easement exists. Karen's lawyer pressed him about implied dedication and custom. Rick shrugged, measured, steady. "Custom isn't recorded," he said. "Easements are." Then came a moment I didn't expect. Abby called Mr. Whitlow AT2, heart like Oku, hobbled to the stand and told the court, in a voice that softened every corner of that room, about watching my father replace culverts on that road. About the time he pulled Whitlow's Ford out of a mud hole with a chain and a smile. About how Dad let folks fish because a man can be generous without giving away the front door. When it was Karen's turn, she took the stand, with a sigh, practiced in mirrors. "I was frightened," she said. "I thought it was a public access. I saw others use it. I felt harassed by the defendant's aggressive signage." Her lawyer handed her a tissue. She dabbed, glanced at the pews, and found no sympathetic faces to hook. Our town knows theater. We have a county fair. Judge Duffy leaned forward, hands folded. "Miss Pembroke," he said, "did you see the spike warning?" "I saw words," she said. "Did you see the words 'no entry'?" "I don't recall the exact phrasing." "Did you drive forward after seeing the warning?" She shifted. I moved slowly. "Did you drive forward?" "Yes," she said, very small. The judge nodded. He scribbled, paused, and then spoke the way rain begins, gentle, undeniable. Injunction denied. The defendant has shown a likelihood of success on the merits. Plaintiff has not. The road is private. The gate stands. The words fell into me like fence posts tamped solid. Karen's face froze. Her lawyer asked for a stay. Denied. Abby squeezed my arm under the table, one quick press that said, "We hold." The judge set deadlines for discovery and warned both sides against performative escalation. He looked at Karen over his glasses. "Ma'am, courts are for relief, not revenge." Outside, the air smelled like hot asphalt and victory you don't brag about. Sheriff Morales was waiting by the steps, coffee in hand. "Quiet justice," he said. "Best kind." You'd think that would be the end, but pride hates quiet. 2 nights later, someone cut the new lock. They didn't get far, the second chain held, but the message was clear. Abby filed a counterclaim for trespass and vandalism. We requested sanctions for bad faith litigation. The HOA board, realizing which way the wind blew, held an emergency meeting in their clubhouse by the faux stone fireplace. Minutes later, bless small towns, someone texted June a photo of the whiteboard. Risk to HOA budget if we lose? Special assessment? Those 2 words, special assessment, do what sermons sometimes can't. By Saturday, 2 board members had resigned. The property manager sent me a letter short, earnest, stating that the HOA does not claim any access rights over your road and discourages all residents from entering. I printed it and taped it beside the rooster magnet. A week after that, there was a knock at the gate. I walked down and found Karen alone in her crossover, window down. Dogs quieter than usual. She didn't smile. She didn't apologize. Either people like her don't trade that currency. But she held out a check for the cost of the lock and the post cap. And she handed me a typed withdrawal of complaint signed by her and her lawyer. My board doesn't want the exposure, she said. It's not worth it. Confusion. I read the paper, handed it back. File it with the court, I said, keeping my voice even. Then we're done. She stared at the road for a long beat. You don't have to be so territorial, she said finally. As if I'd built a wall where a bridge should be. This isn't about territory, I said. It's about stewardship. There's a difference. A territory is about power. Stewardship is about care. She blinked twice. The dogs shifted. She drove away, slow for once, careful of the gravel. Life smoothed out. The joggers found another loop. The kids on e-bikes discovered the county trail. When I walked the lane now at dusk, the cattle bell sways in the breeze, and crickets stitch the field edges back together. Sometimes I stop by the cedar post where Dad's sign used to hang and run my thumb over the scar in the wood. I think about how the people we love teach us to be soft, until it's time to be firm, and firm until it's time to be kind again. One Sunday, after church, Mr. Whitlow caught my elbow. Proud of you, son, he said. Not for winning. For staying gentle while you did. That night, June and I sat on the porch with coffee and watched the sky go from peach to pewter. The creek chattered. A train horn moaned from 10 miles off. Peace doesn't come like a parade. It arrives like Duke Wyatt, faithful. In a world that mistakes noise for truth, boundaries are how we speak plainly. You don't defend a road because gravel matters. You defend it because it carries your father's footsteps and your children's laughter, and the weight of your promise to care for what was handed down. Sometimes standing up for what's right means you stand a while by yourself, but you won't stand alone forever. Folks find you. Have you ever dealt with an HOA or a neighbor who thought your no didn't count? Tell me your story in the comments. I read every one and I've learned more from you all than from any book. If you believe a person's word and a family's work still means something, hit subscribe. Let's stand up together, calm, firm, and neighborly, so our kids inherit lines worth keeping.